Welcome back, Albert here. And today we will be looking at part 2 of Tar Aldarian's epic tale. If you missed part 1, please check it out. Back to the story. Aldarian had departed again in the year 816 SA with the blessing of Erendis, a voyage that would last 4 years, returning in 820 SA. They say his affection for Erendis had hastened his return. He came back with many treasures, offering them to the queen, his mother, but the richest gift he gave to Erendis, a beautiful white diamond, which Erendis was known to wear on her brow, a tradition which they say created the manner for kings and queens to wear a white jewel like a star on their brow without a crown. His return wasn't met with absolute joy. His father received him with a coldness. Tar Meneldor was clear and open how he felt about his son and the gift he had given to Erendis, seeing it as a poor offering, if indeed she was the one he would marry. He demanded Aldarian make his intentions clear. Even if Aldarian had feelings for Erendis, his defiance towards his father outweighed it, and he set sail again in 824 SA. This time, Aldarian left with a fleet of 7 ships and the greater part of the Guild of Venturers. His father demanded he waited until winter had fully passed if he was to go, but Aldarian would not listen or wait. This open defiance of his father sent the king into a terrible wrath. Immediately the king rescinded his son's authority as lord of the ships and havens of Numenor, ordering the guild house of the Venturers to be shut, and shut it did. All activities were halted on the shipyards of Romena, and the felling of trees for shipbuilding was completely forbidden on Numenor. This closure would last 15 years. Aldarian had returned during this restriction in the year 829 SA, only 5 years later, and when he found out what his father had done, he got extremely angry and set sail again as soon as possible within that year, but this time with just 3 ships crewed with the hardiest of venturers. He left without blessing. His father had made sure of this by restricting all women of his house and venturers from offering one to the voyage, setting guard on Romena. Aldarian vanished for 14 years. He was away so long that the people feared for him. Even his father was burdened by his absence. So when he did return in 843 SA, his father was pleased, although he did not forgive him for the rebellion against king and father, for forsaking the guardianship of the Valor. His father seen it as an act of selfishness. He felt he had openly risked the wrath of Orsay on not only himself, but for the men who had bound themselves to him in devotion. Aldarian listened and received the pardon from his father. Aldarian would remain in Numenor during this time. He set himself the task of reopening the shipyards, repairing and expanding the harbour works, and building of sea walls. Things settled down for a time in these days, and when the year 850 SA came about, the 100-year anniversary of the Guild of Venturers, he embraced it with joy and contentment. At length, he sought Erendis to sail with him on a voyage about the island in the ship Iambar to attend great feasts held all over the havens of Numenor. The most notable was their voyage from Romena to Andurin. There, Valandil, son of Ilatan and Simarian, the eldest daughter of Tar Elendil and cousin of Aldarian, held a great feast to honour them and to hold a tribute to the Guild of Venturers. This was followed by a great announcement in the year 858 SA. To the delight of his father and family, Aldarian would present Erendis as his wife-to-be. The announcement of the engagement was a great time of celebration in the city and all over the Isle of Numenor. Erendis was gifted a fair portion of land in Emeria, an engagement present from the king. Emeria was located in the southeast of Mittalmar, the central region of Numenor, a region of green pastures and rolling hills. In fact, it was the chief sheep pasturage in Numenor, and they saw the white houses of the farmers and shepherd, and heard the bleating of the flocks. It was there the king built for her a beautiful white house. This engagement, by custom and tradition in Numenor, could only last 3 years before they must marry. So when the third year arrived in 863 SA, many eyes were on the couple. But in that very year the hunger for the sea returned. So as the year drew on, Aldarion spoke little of marriage, and went often again to Romena in the company of the venturers. This drew the attention of his father, and the king called him to his chamber, and at length they talked. It has come upon me again. 18 years is a long fast. I can scarce lie still in bed, or hold myself upon a horse, and the hard ground of stone wounds my feet. Tar Maneldo was grieved by his son's reply, and could not understand. By the laws of Numenor, and the right ways of the Eldar and the Edain, a man shall not have 2 wives. You cannot wed the sea, for you are affianced to Erendis. Aldarion left in anger. Returning to Erendis, he told her of his need. Erendis wept. Aldarion was settled by her tears. He did not sail that year. Out of sight of land, she will die, he thought. Soon I shall die, if I see it longer. But by the following year, he had found no peace or joy, and so he readied his ship, taking with him his venturers. Erendis herself set the green broth of Olir on the brow of the Palarin and hid her tears. Around 6 years passed before Aldarion returned to Numenor, around 869 SA. He returned to no real welcome. The queen his mother was glad of his return, but that was it. It was thought he had ill-treated Erendis, who had waited for him. Even the venturers were seen with little esteem. Aldarion had left for longer than he had meant to, for he had found Vignalondi and the other havens in ruin and in need of repair, and other conflicts with men had consumed him too. A story for another time. But to the surprise and joy of everyone, and especially the king and queen, Aldarion would announce the wedding date for him and Erendis. The king's heir would marry next spring, and so in 870 SA, Aldarion and Erendis would marry, followed by the birth of their daughter, Ancalame, only 3 years later, in the year 837 SA. And that's it, my friends, for part 2 of this epic tale. There is still a lot more to get through with Aldarion, but that will have to be for another day. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please keep an eye out for part 3, which is coming very soon. Please subscribe, like, and comment, and share if you like this content. Thanks once again for watching. Goodbye for now, and may the light of Erendil guide your way.